This is my pain and suffering. My medicine makes me drowsy, and if my hands go numb, then I can't write. I have to finish my story. The reason I haven't finished my story is because I haven't found the meaning of my life yet. I'll get absorbed in my writing, erase it, and then lose sight of how to reach the end. When I'm with you, I can almost see it. It's because you've been here for me. It seems like you might have given me a reason to finish. I'm probably writing this book to find my own meaning in life. And if I do find it, if I do finish the story, I hope we have a little more time together after that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more, but yeah, but like what the meaning of life is. But what are your comments so far?
Okay. So my comments are, okay, so full disclosure, in college, I was pretty well obsessed with meaning of life, existentialism, how to get out of the kind of nothing has any meaning of Jean-Paul Sartre, but human beings are totally free. Whatever they commit to is whatever. It's all sort of what you do. That my how should we say verge of senior citizen self now has a somewhat different perspective, which is my college self wanted meaning like a worldview or a philosophy I agreed with. In the 40 years plus years since then, I've come to understand that meaning comes from interacting with a world of other people. And it's not a conceptual thing. In other words, if someone says, what's the meaning of life? I'm going to give a really boring answer. And I'm going to say what Sigmund Freud said when his students asked him on his deathbed, what can we expect from life, doctor? He said, to love and to work.
That's a very
those are the
that's a more positive answer than I thought for Freud.
It's so positive and it's so profound because work includes play. And
Exactly.
Freud writes on and on that artists are people who have taken their inner conflicts and have turned them into like gold, the gold of creativity, where even if you're conflicted, you're creating, and other people are appreciating or maybe criticizing, but then you're engaged, and it's engagement that lifts depression, that draws you out of yourself to love, to want to join in with other people or argue against some other people or love or engage in non-verbal kinds of activities that are just fabulous, whether it's life with animals, life in nature, in the woods, right? It's so it's to love and to work. That's a whole lifetime of meaning. And the meaning's not going to come in a single sentence. If it did and you could sell that single sentence and other people could buy on, you'd be rich. But the writings of Soren Kierkegaard are a very long lesson in why the meaning of life is not encompassed ever in a single statement of philosophy. Philosophy is about universal truths. Life is about the particular stuff that you live out, the circumstances you live within, the other people you touch, etc., etc.
Well, you basically summarized what this is about to say, but I want you to see it anyway, and it's gonna be powerful.
Oh.
Funny. I never feel like I've been waiting. I finished my story and wanted to show it to you. I was having a lot of trouble with the ending, but I finally figured it out. After the alligator ate his friend, the bird, he cried and cried for a long time. In fact, he was so sad that he drowned in his own tears. His tears became a sparkling lake, around which grew beautiful flowers, and a tree that bore delicious fruit. The other animals in the forest came there often to relax, but none of them knew the alligator had created it, or that he was gone. The end. That's the ending I decided on. Even though the alligator didn't find meaning in his life, the residents of the forest did. They just didn't realize it. The meaning of my life isn't something I should spend my time on. It's more about how I was able to affect others. So, for me, or you, or anyone, just simply existing gives our lives meaning. People can't survive without help from others. We all depend on one another. I don't know how to explain it, but does that make sense? I'm glad. This is the notebook I wrote my story in. I've poured my heart and soul into it. I wanted to give you this, since you shared my final moments. My body feels lighter. I'm so grateful to have met you. It seems so insignificant, but maybe there was some meaning in it for both of us. Thank you. In the end, I'm glad that I was born.
I am thou. Thou art I. The bond thou hast nurtured hath finally matured. The innermost power of the Sun Arcana hath been set free. We now bestow upon thee the ultimate form of the sun within thyself.
I have to go now. Maybe someday we'll meet again. I'd like that.
I told you that's Oscar bait.
Aha. Yeah, Oscar bait. Okay. I'm
There's-
here.
There's even more
I got
Oscar. You because he talks to then the end. There's an epilogue to this where you talk to his mother, his grieving mother.
And his mother's grieving because
He died. He just died.
he's no longer. Eh, that was death. What did he die of?
A
Or is
chronic
that within the game?
chronic illness,
Ah, okay.
like pneumonia.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I
Maybe
mean, this is one of the things about the meaning of life is that it's arguably our finitude, our death, the fact of suffering that makes life meaningful. Because as animals, we want release from pain, and we want satisfaction of our basically physical desires. And human beings are social animals, so it's all how we work out a social form where we can kind of help each other out in terms of those uh, basic physical needs, build our world together, find a way to share things without billionaires or people in poverty. We don't need those two extremes. We can find a way to do something a little differently. We can supply our physical needs, and then we're all much freer to enjoy the good things in life. And it's kind of a Marxist idea. Wilhelm Reich dubbed it work economy,
Mhm.
where human needs are what propel the direction of society instead of human greed, which is what capitalist system kind of forces us into. I'm not saying I want to abolish capitalism. I'm saying we need capitalism controlled by forms of socialism. So we're talking about what in Europe is called social democrats, or what in the U.S. Bernie Sanders calls social democracy. Is a little bit confusing, but the idea is that the economy can serve all of us because you know what? If you're hungry, like the question of meaning is the question of where your food comes from. If you're lonely,
Yeah.
the question of meaning is companionship, right? So but once we satisfy those very basic forms, we are then free to move into the realms of creativity and play. I got an older sister who's a clinical psychologist who works with young children, and young children young enough of the age that you can't like rationally talk to them. Rather, you play games with little dolls, animals, see what their issues are. And she says the saddest thing is when they're little 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old children who are too anxious to play, which is to say something's going really wrong in their social environment, that they're not able to play, as to say, to relax into their world and kind of let creativity take over. And you play with little toys, you play with other kids, play on the school ground, you know. But play is the other complement of work. Work, play, love. Oh, that's enough meaning for me.
Yeah. And with playfulness, that's that's what Nietzsche says. Nietzsche says to find meaning. Not to find meaning through play, but that true maturity is that by being one of a child, that the
Yeah.
child is the one who creates meaning in life.
Yeah, because the question of meaning doesn't arise for the child because a child's, joys are very immediate, the disappointments are immediate. You're crushed with sorrow one moment, and then, if a toy breaks, but something
So,
else could happen and you'll be happy again and, you
but the
know,
guys try to find meaning through
short.
writing the story. What do you feel like that the guy was trying to find, this kid was trying to find meaning through writing a story, a children's book?
You know what? And you could do that because writing a story is a way you could put something of yourself out there and that other people can then read and respond to, and all of a sudden maybe you've made a difference in their lives, and then they'll make a difference in your life.
It's kind
Right? I
it's
mean,
kind of it's kind of like the creation of the games. It's meaning. These games have given a lot of meaning in people's lives, even if they might not be
that
full.
they do, but there's a downside to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all for entertainment, but the problem is that if you're not in person with your people,
Mm,
you're not getting the psychological benefits of. There have been a lot of studies of depression that show that the more time you spend on the screen, the less time in real life activities, the more likely you are to feel isolated and depressed, even if you have a million, online friends.
mm.
So it's like there's so many great resources for entertainment on the computer. My favorite is, I'm a boomer, so it's YouTube, and it's going back to all those great concerts that I either missed in the 1970s or I was too young to see in the 1980s. That's a real joy for me, but that's my break time, and so it's like that punctuating of work and play. You try to play all the time, you'll be bored. That's the
Yeah.
brilliant meaning of the Jewish Sabbath. The rest is meaningful after the work.
Mm.
After those days of work, I thank the combination of Judaism and Christianity that gave us the full weekend, Jewish Sabbath being Saturday, Christian Holy Day being Sunday. You put them together, and we got a 2-day weekend. This never existed in pre-Christian societies.
Mm.
So we've precisely, religions have their issues, but this understanding in Judaism that there needs to be a pause, just like there was a pause mythologically for God's creating on that seventh day God paused. We also need that pause in our lives. And that pause is what gives us the rhythm, the work and play rhythm. Like I had a fourth grade teacher. I really hate him for a lot of things, but he did have some wisdom, and one of them was work now, play later. I'm like everybody else. I want to play now. But, this is this hard transition about reality, is you find you work now and the play later is a lot more meaningful.
It needs
Um,
to
so
into
there's some putting one's nose to the grindstone of existence, but it's not going to grind you down.
Most
Now, there
powerful
are
thing,
such,
most powerful thing though is turning work into play. But we at least show a
yeah,
little.
but some work is just plain
birthday.
boring, and yet we do
Me
it.
so much
Yeah,
happiness.
because
Something to me near the end. I'm sorry to have brought so much pain into your life, Mother. I'm glad that I was born into this world. I'm glad to have been your son. Thank you for the life you've given me. He suffered so much, and yet he still said that to me. But Akinari brought me so much happiness too. Feeling his warmth as I carried him in my arms after he was born. Those tiny hands. That first smile. Hearing his breathing as he slept at night. Every day, I was so grateful he was alive. Every day, I found new joy in him. Now, I'm so alone. And there's nothing I can do. But my boy gave me so much. I have to keep going, looking straight ahead. That's how I want to live. I'll eat the finest foods, visit the most exotic places. I'll do everything, absolutely everything that Akinari couldn't. I'll have so many stories to tell him about the things I've done on that day. When we meet again on the other side, if I didn't have that to look forward to, I don't know how I could go on.
all right,
Hello?
all going good till you get to that other side business. I was about to say, wow, what this mother's saying is showing this great existential, what I call the pro-cosmic attitude to life. Yes to the cosmos. Yes to the life of the body. Yes to the vast reaches of interstellar space. Yes to our difficult life here on Earth, even if there's pain and suffering and death. And the last words of James Joyce's Ulysses, yes, to say, yes, I will, yes. That's the Nietzschean yes to existence. But as soon as you start saying, well, I can say yes to existence if there's an afterlife in which I get to see my loved ones again, you put a big question mark onto your yes to existence. Like I'm with Nietzsche and Zarathustra. I don't go with Nietzsche and everything, but I go on this, stay true to the meaning of this earth.
What would
And
Jung
I'll
say?
read.
Wouldn't
Oh,
Jung?
Jung totally agrees. He wrote a 2-volume commentary on Thus Spake Zarathustra. He
But
thought Nietzsche personally had problems, that he suffered from inflation by too much contact with the archetypes, and that he identified with an archetypal figure, Zarathustra, and that deprived, and you're not supposed to identify with the archetypes for Jung. That's the key thing. They are instinctual powers. You preserve a separation between the archetype and you, because you want to be an individual. You don't want to just be driven by the primal instincts of the base of humanity. That's not individuality, right? It's a relationship to our primal urges, right? But a relationship implies I've got a position. I feel sexual impulses. I feel aggressive impulses. What am I going to do with them? That's the individual thing. The psycho thing is you start just living out of them. The individual thing is you bring in the whole of your personality, your morals, your understanding of others, and you channel those instincts for their satisfactions. And
but he
Willem
doesn't
Reich, yeah. So go ahead.
say what's going to happen after death. But I thought Jung would say that it's good to have faith. And this is very weird for a Japanese
No,
person to
actually,
be.
Jung doesn't. Jung, he's on it's either on TV in an interview or it's in Memories, Deep Reflections. Someone asked him, does he have faith in God? He says, no, I don't have faith. I know.
I mean,
Now,
yeah, I don't believe.
I actually disagree with that. Not that I disagree with Jung's own position on it, but I want to keep things I know to things that I can have with Descartes, either immediate certainty, such as my existence, or proof that follows the normal versions of proof in the world. Or, and here where I admit that what I'm going to call, let's translate that Greek word for faith as trust, and acknowledge there are some things in life that we can't prove, that aren't like mathematics and aren't immediate certainties, as Descartes wanted, but we extend a trust. Like when I trust a friend, what I trust is that the friend will have my best interests in mind. When I trust my good buddy with my keys to feed my cats when I'm gone, I know he's not gonna rip me off. I know he's not gonna do anything I wouldn't, and I'll do the same for him. And it's not a mathematical knowledge. It's just like I know this man. He's a good man. I trust him. I trust him with my life. I trust him with my family. If you ever a baby, give the baby over to a babysitter, you give it over to someone that you can trust. A lot of spaces in life like that. So for me, that's the meaning of faith, is the concrete faith that we have. The fact that we know everything isn't like math in this world, and yet we choose to extend trust to some people and not to others. And we're always honing our senses about like that trust impulse. When I was a little kid, I was real trusting. And when people told me lies, I believed them. Okay, so that was like being like 7, 8, or 9 or whatever. I kind of got over that. But we all make those decisions. So it's not as if we ferry through life simply on the basis of knowledge, but we also exert this faith organ, so to speak, that allows us to build on trusting relationships. But as to other worlds, if someone believes there's an afterlife and then makes them happier, well, they're blessed. I personally don't share in that. I wouldn't like to hang the meaning of existence on whether there is an afterlife or not, because that's eternally in question. I'd like to hang the meaning of existence on things in this life that we can at least be relatively sure of.
I do think there's, like, again, I mean, I talked about this with Lady Virgilia. There's a whole other commentary going on. Again, Christianity in Japan, very, very low. And do you think this woman is Christian?
I don't know, but she's representing a view that it sounds Christian. I'll see him on the other shore. That's a very simplistic notion. I'm not, I mean, it's in music, it's in blues songs I love. I'll see you on the other shore. It's beautiful poetry. But, maybe some people can live in light of that hope and faith. I wouldn't want to take it away from them, but I can't. I'm a product of the mid-20th century, existentialism, psychoanalysis, the whole history of critical philosophy. And I've spent a couple decades trying to live as a Christian who didn't believe in the afterlife. Like, isn't that a funny one? A Christian who doesn't believe in the afterlife. I tell you, it became pretty difficult, because every time I talk to so-called real Christians, as soon as they learn how to believe in the afterlife, they're like, whoa, how can you be a Christian then? I'm like, oh, no, I kind of like the teachings of Jesus, and rather like the Apostle Paul, and feel like most of their moral decisions are pretty good. Most, but not all, maybe, minus the asceticism. I can't. I think Nietzsche may be right on the criticism of asceticism, criticism of hatred of the body. I don't go for that business. I'll let that part of Christianity be corrected by Nietzsche, Freud, and Wilhelm Reich.
Hold dear. If you wait until their day comes, it's too late. Clinging to their cold bodies won't bring them back. Everyone who's born will die someday. Not just Akinari, or me, or even you. It's all the same. So before that happens, it doesn't take a grand gesture. You don't have to make a big production of it. But if you love someone, let them know it.
Yeah, well, so we're in the realm of psychological platitudes. All that's true.